No, welcome to everyone for the webinar that we're going to run today, focused on lean authoring. I guess logistics-wise, just to let you know that this is going to be running for an hour. There's going to be about a 45-minute period where Hans and Marloes will talk us through lean authoring principles, and then we'll save sort of 10 to 15 minutes at the end where we'll look to do some Q&A. There is a Q&A function within the Zoom platform. So please feel free to put your questions in the Q&A function, and we'll make sure that we address those. If we don't address them in the talk today, we'll absolutely make sure that we get answers out to questions after the webinar. There'll also be a recording, so we will share out the recording of this webinar afterwards. So yeah, I think with that we can make a start. Great, yeah. So today we're going to be looking at streamlining submissions and really looking at the principles of lean authoring. You'll be pleased to know you won't be hearing much of me, but just quickly, I'm Matt Tyler. I'm the VP of Business Developments and Partnerships. But really, the main event here today is for Hans and for Marloes. So a vast amount of experience across Hans, who is our Chief Scientific Officer, and Marloes, who is our Director of Regulatory Affairs. So what they're going to talk about today is their experience, their knowledge, their principles across the years and going forward in the future of how we're going to apply lean authoring principles to submissions. All right, so you want to step on, Marloes?
Yes.
So yeah, sorry, just a bit of background about Celegence for those that aren't aware. So Celegence, we are a tech-empowered organisation in the regulatory affairs space. We actually cover everything across sort of pharmaceuticals, medical devices, in vitro diagnostics, and combination products. Very much started as a services-based company, but through the years, using our expertise, we ended up creating a number of our own technology to make us more efficient, and that's really where we see ourselves as tech empowered. You'll hopefully see that today in some of the discussion that Hans and Marloes will give, where we took what we call the feet in the dirt experience and really applied that to some technology. We'll see it today, and you'll see on the screen there a number of clients that we've worked with to help them be more efficient in their processes. Again, you'll see specific reference to technologies. We'll go into some details on this, and if anyone wants any further details, then we can share those. Please feel free to contact us. And then I guess just to start with an example, so we had some feedback from one of our clients where they used our tool DosScriber, which is our ECTD templates, along with our regulatory affairs expertise and lean authoring principles. And you'll see here that they ended up using that and coming up with 0 major or critical queries as part of a submission. We can go into some more details on that at the end of the session. But with that, I'll be quiet. I'll hand over to Marloes, and yeah, please feel free to throw questions in the Q&A part. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Matt. Thanks for the introduction. And thanks everyone for your interest and for joining this call. Here you see the agenda and what we want to talk through in the next hour. First of all, before we dive into the topic of lean authoring, which will be presented by Hans, I will just take you all back to the bigger picture, that we all remember. Why are we authoring documents? What are we authoring? What is the message that we have to get across? And then Hans will talk you through some lean authoring principles and also give you examples of why that is so important. As said, let's first go back to the basics. So what are we doing? What are we in regulatory affairs doing? And I know many of you are working in regulatory affairs, so it is of course repetitive, but sometimes it's good to think back about the bigger picture of what we're trying to achieve. So in regulatory affairs, what we are responsible for is to document the proof of the fact that we have a medicinal product that we are producing in a consistent manner, and that we are producing those products that are of high quality, so that patients can be reassured that it doesn't matter whether they purchase the product today or in 1 year from now, it has the same quality and therefore can be expected to have the same safety and efficacy over time if used in accordance to the product information. So besides, of course, proving that the product can be produced in a consistent manner and is of high quality, we also have to demonstrate, of course, and prove that our product gives a favorable efficacy safety profile, because if it doesn't, then of course there is no reason to use that product. So all the data that we collect over time during non-clinical studies, during clinical studies, etc., on that efficacy and safety of the product, that is what we are writing down and what we are submitting to the health authorities. Of course, the positive safety efficacy profile will never apply to any given person. It only applies mostly, except for vaccines, of course, to patients. So, but which patients? Which patients will benefit from the product? For example, think in oncology, then it depends on which tumor types you have. So we really have to identify for which patient population is it applicable that there is a positive efficacy safety profile. So again, that is what we are documenting and have to demonstrate through our messaging in our dossier. And then, of course, it will only be as such if it's used according to the product information. So if it's stored under the right circumstances, if it's produced under the right circumstances, if the dosing is correct, etc. So all of that is what we are documenting. And we are documenting that, of course, supported by data, and all of that data is to be submitted as part of the dossier. And we do that, of course, while we are still developing the drug, but we continue to do so while the drug is already being marketed. And to constantly keep the regulatory authorities informed on the latest information we have about the products, there is a constant interaction, of course, with the regulators throughout the product life cycle. And we are constantly sending documents back and forth between the health authorities. And that is what we're going to talk about today. And also we're going to talk about how that can be streamlined, that sending documents back and forth. Luckily, there is already some streamlining because, as you probably all know, we are not just throwing all the documents and all the data as we collected, just throwing it over the fence as such. We do already put some logic in there and some structure in there. So we reached an agreement with the health authorities that we say, okay, everything that we have about the fact that we consistently produce and that we produce high quality drugs, that goes into module 3. Anything on non-clinical goes in module 4, and anything on clinical in module 5, and the summaries thereof end up in module 2, with module 1 being the regional information. So I won't dive into detail here. I assume you all know this triangle, but just important to keep that in mind, that is how we organize all the data that we collect over time. And with that, I would like to hand over to Hans, who will illustrate how we are currently exchanging that information.
Thank you, Marloes, because now we come to a favorite topic of mine, and that is what are we doing at the moment? What is our current exchange of our data, our documents, and our dossiers? How do we do that? Well, internally, within our own industry, we might have various data sources. For example, we have our document management system. We have maybe a RIM database. There might be another RIM database. We have SAP. We have an e-submission tool. We still have a lot of spreadsheets. And based on these various sources, we create our documents. And all those sources are also connected. Now, from the EDMS, we have, for example, our cover letter. And our cover letter is a standalone document that we use for submission. But then we have the application form, and the information in the application form might be based on our RIM database. Then we have the labeling information, and the labeling information might be available in another RIM or label database. Of course, we have our SAP, and SAP contains a lot of information that is used within supply chain and manufacturing, but often this is also a source of information of our module 3. And then we have our e-submission tool, and that provides the information that goes into a web portal, for example, for the actual submission. Now, then we throw all those documents that we nicely captured in an eCTD, we throw that over the wall to the health authorities. And those health authorities, they receive those documents in the eCTD format as PDF files. And what they do next, they extract the data from the cover letter, from a form, from a label, from our module 3, from the portal, and they put that in their database. And the EMA might put that in a database. The Netherlands, the MEB might put that in a database. Also, the bee farm from Germany might put that in the database, and they all extract that information. And then also Austria might do that, but even also for the US, they apply similar approaches. So what we are saying is actually, hey guys, if we have the sources, the source data already in databases, why do we capture that in documents, then exchange the documents in PDF format, and then subsequently that the health authorities start extracting the data and put that in their own databases to do some further analysis and maybe to compare the data with other products or other applicants' data. So what should be better, and this is already something that has been discussed more than 10 years ago, where we say, no, we should have a trusted third party, we should have something in the cloud where we have our data, our regulatory information, and that regulatory information is life cycled. So at a certain time, the industry, they maintain their data in that location. Then they manage the data. Then at a certain time, they say, yeah, now this set of data is something that can be submitted. But rather than submit that information to the health authority, we leave it in the database. We just give permission to the health authorities to review that. So there's no actual submission anymore, but the health authorities can take it out there, can upload that to their own systems. And at a certain time, the health authorities also provide their approval in there. And also the outdated information will automatically become obsolete. So that is work in progress that we have within such a cloud environment, within such a shared platform, whatever you call that. That means that within our industry, we still have to have an EDMS because we create, for example, a cover letter, or we create a justification of change. And then that justification of change of this database is submitted to the health authorities. That is sent. Then the health authorities will say, okay, thank you very much for the notification. Now I will upload this justification in my database, and all the other authorities can do that as well. But for the finding the actual data, they go to that cloud environment, and the permissions allow them to see the data and the documents within that cloud environment. Then subsequently, they do an assessment, they come up with some questions, and then that list of questions, which remains a document, might be submitted or sent out then to the industry. The industry received that list of questions, they upload that list of questions in their document management system, but also they address the answers within this cloud environment, within this database. Then subsequently, they will write a response document and they will update the data in the database, but the response document will be sent to the health authorities. The health authorities take another look in the updated information in the database, and they might come up with an approval or rejection letter. And then that is sent to the industry, and the industry will store that within their document management system, and they will tag the information accordingly within their shared environment. So this is something that was already foreseen and discussed also with the MEB more than 10 years ago. And if we have a closer look here, then actually what we have in our database, that is the content-related information. And then we put that content in context of fit for purpose for a submission to the EU, to the US, to any other country for the purpose of a marketing authorization application, but maybe also for a clinical trial application. So all that purpose can be provided in such a cover letter, a justification, a response document, and so on. So that is contextual information. But also the approval or rejection is contextual information for the information that we have, the data that we have in our databases. And actually what the FDA is doing with their Precision FDA, or abbreviated as PRISM, and also what Accumulus would like to achieve with a cloud environment, is something that is in the direction of this particular cloud. And really have one set of information, and that we can manage that information from an industry perspective, but also from a health authority perspective, they can view that information.
I think this is where we wanted to ask the poll question, Heidi. Yeah, are you aware of these concepts around shared data, document and dossier platforms like FDA PRISM, as Hans just mentioned, or like what Accumulus is trying to achieve? Just out of curiosity and to understand if we should maybe go into a bit more detail at the end, if time allows. So yes, no, or kind of.
Okay, in the meantime, then I see that host and panelists cannot vote. Yeah,
No, so
that's correct. That's fine. Yeah, good. So I will continue then, if that works. Yes. So what is the envisaged approach? And that envisaged approach is also nicely documented by the FDA in 2020. And there they have already said, hey guys, if we would like to manage this, then we cannot boil the ocean at once, but let's take a step at a time. So first of all, let's ensure that we manually add data to our text submissions. And examples of that are, for example, the XEVMPD data, the IDMP information, the data for the US that goes into SPL, because that is structured information and that is co-submitted with also the regulatory dossiers. Then another one was, can we generate document submissions, but then from a tabular data? And that we can create those documents automatically from tabular information that you might have in a database. Well, that is something that I will dive into a little bit more. Then, can we reduce the amount of document submissions with the health authorities and increase the analyzing databases? And instead that of, can we do that instead of reviewing documents, but that we just analyze the data and come to our own conclusions?
Yeah, and instead of, I think, instead of just packaging data into documents, packaging them into dossiers, why not just directly exchanging data and assessing it?
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks, Marloes. And that is what is being considered for the PQ CMC and also PQ pharmaceutical quality for the CMC information in a US dossier. And also on a global perspective, then this is taken on by ICH in their M4Q revision 2. And also there you see that they would like to go far more to an factual data that goes into their, let's say, module 3, but that will be a database approach. And that the QoS, what we have now in module 2.3, that QoS might become the scientific evaluation. And also here, do you want to go for a poll?
Yeah, but maybe first, so that triangle that I just presented, that is currently under evaluation. So I think overall module 1 to 5, that will continue. But within module 3, for example, there's a lot being redefined.
Yeah.
Etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we also had a poll here, but I don't know whether we should first look at the responses to the previous poll, or can we do that at the end, Heidi? To look at the responses.
We can do it after this. We can do it after this poll because I've launched the second one.
Okay. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Let's have a look first. So what?
So the question for the poll is: are you aware of the objectives of FDA PQ CMC and/or the ICH M4Q revision? Yes, no, or kind of. Just to make sure, Hans, that people can pay attention to your story instead of being in between the poll and the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can go ahead.
So can we reduce then those document submissions? And like we said, to be facilitated through PQ CMC and ICH M4Q revision 2. And then later, if we can do that, can we rely mainly on the shared database for regulatory interactions? And also that is foreseen already in 2020 by the FDA. And this ties into their FDA PRISM. The information that they have in there. And that is with Accumulus synergy, they try to achieve something similar there as well. So let's focus more on generating document submissions and then with tabular format. So Marloes, do we want to go first through the outcome of the polls?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If possible, Heidi, and maybe the first one is no longer possible, I see, but at least the second one. Yeah,
I think Kelly's.
So, this was the first one. Yeah. So most people say no. So we will try, if possible, maybe at the end of the session to touch upon that in a bit more detail.
Yeah.
And we can even consider a follow-up maybe on these topics.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
And the second poll?
Yeah, similar
So also
response.
similar kind of responses, yeah. Okay, well, very good that you're here on this call then, because these kind of initiatives are key to understanding what we would like to see in the future, but also how we can already take some stepping stones right now to get that. So that is related then also to the document reuse and the document granularity, because you can imagine if I have something in the cloud environment, then I should not have multiple versions of the same document. No, there should be one document, and that document should be used for country A, country B, country C, and so on. But even if I have one and the same API for a topical and also for an oral application, for example, then I should have also there one and the same 32S type of information, and not that I recreate that information first for my topical and later on for another product, and so on. But that is something that goes together hand in hand with document granularity. Well, what that is, I will explain next. But for the authoring of ECTD ready documents, then we need to know a couple of basic principles. And that is, we have to separate content from context. And when I positioned that database on top of that wall, you already saw some differences between content and context. Then also we have to use that right document granularity. And if we have a different document granularity that has an impact on the naming of documents, but also on the headers, then we have to author in a lean manner and also in a structured manner. And most of the time we are used to write a lot of blah, blah, just to share how much we know about certain thing. And then we add more and more knowledge into that piece of text. But actually there is another home for that type of information in the well-structured module 3, for example. So then we should not do that. We should provide the information only once and at the right location. Then cross-references should be used cautiously, because a cross-reference, first of all, like I said, it is all very highly structured, and therefore everybody knows where to find certain pieces of information. So the need for cross-referencing is very limited. But if you write a lot of words, a lot of paragraphs on a particular topic, and you do that at multiple locations, then people get lost. They don't know where to find the real information. And then they ask, yeah, but Ben, please, can you create a cross-reference? But if you are producing very lean documents, then it's obvious where the information is. And cross-references are one thing, but the other thing is, do not create hyperlinks on top of these cross-references. So if you would like to cross-refer to something, then ensure that your cross-reference matches the title of your destination document, for example, and you do not have to create a hyperlink. Why is that important? That is because module 3 is subject to change. It will change over time, and before you know it, a hyperlink is bringing you to an obsolete and outdated document. And that is why hyperlinks are more of a risk than that it helps you to facilitate to the right information. Okay, for the initial MAA, you might say, yeah, but now it's useful. But in the life cycle, it will become a burden. Then you should also use proper templates to facilitate also to structure your information and to structure also your document granularity, header information, and so on. And if those templates, and you will see in some examples, that those templates have already some tags, content boxes, content control boxes, and that is with XML in the background. So if we apply that, then that XML remains in the PDF document once it is rendered to PDF, and you can extract the information based on the tags that are within those PDF documents. But first thing was separate content from context, and there I have my famous carrot and potato recipe, where I have multiple farms, and those farms, they both produce carrots and potatoes. And we can have different recipes for our carrots and potatoes. We can have the mashed potatoes and the mashed carrots. We can have the baked potatoes and the baked carrots. We can also have the fried carrots and our potato chips or French fries. Then we can have multiple restaurants where we can go, and we can go to Happy's. We can also go to the canteen of some pharma companies. We can also go to McDonald's to have one of these recipes, for example, one of these meals. But now let's pretend that instead of the farms, we talk about these are our manufacturers. Then here we have our active substances. There we have our production processes. And this will result in our drug products. And we can do some clinical trials with our products. And then if we send all that information, then these are our competent authorities that have to consume all of that information. Now, every item needs to be documented, and we do not create a huge PDF file or a huge Word file. No, every item that we have should get a standalone document. Within those standalone documents, you can create cross-references, but there we have to be very cautious for the cross-references, because sooner or later the cross-reference might not be functioning anymore because it brings you to a dead link or an obsolete document. The other thing is we should not apply branding. So even though I know that those potatoes, for example, are to be used from that particular farm and will be used for McDonald's, then please do not say that this manufacturer is for McDonald's, because can I use then the same document also for another restaurant called Happy's, for example? No, we can't do that because we have branded the manufacturer details, or we have branded the API details. And then I cannot reuse that. So branding should be prevented. So no references to an NDA number, no references to a scientific advice meeting that you had with the EMA, for example. No, all of that should be moved out and should be applied in a far more generic way. Then why would we distribute now information across multiple documents? Well, that allows us for shopping for particular content to support maybe a specific product in a specific country for a specific submission type. So we have all the documents on the shelf, standalone documents, and we can shop around. Where do we put then the context that it is for a particular product, for a particular country, and for a particular purpose, a submission type, for example? Well, that type of information belongs in Module 1, in our cover letter, in our note to the reviewer, in our application form, in our product information, and in our response documents. These are all very country-specific and product-specific. So there, no problem if you add more context to these kind of documents. But please do not do that in your Module 2 to Module 5 documents. So if I can do that, so I have my standalone document, then subsequently I can shop around and I can get some documents into my dossier. Now, this is a very old example that we still had a DVD or CD-ROM, but just to get the message across, now I can add the contextual information in my Module 1, because then I can say, hey, this is the company, that is the applicant, this is the brand name, this is the date that it has been sent, this is the application number, this is the marketing authorization number. All of that is contextual information, because in this particular country, for that particular product, it has that type of information in there. So that is not the content related information. That is in the documents. This is the contextual related information. If we can distribute then documents or information across documents, then we talk about the coarse granularity or fine granularity. And it is the same information, but we have there P33, description of manufacturing process and process controls. And then I can subdivide that in 5 different chapters: flowchart, formulation, filling, labeling, and packaging. I can also say, no. What I want to do, I would like to split now this document in 5 documents. So I have a separate flowchart, and this flowchart goes to all the documents, to all the countries, also the CPP countries. I will provide them with this flowchart. I do not give the nitty-gritty details from the formulation or the filling, or maybe I submit that as well. but I have already some changes in mind that will impact, for example, my formulation. But the filling process is very robust. The labeling process is very robust. Also, my packaging process is very robust. Moreover, my packaging process might be the same for product A as for product B, while formulation is something that is very product specific. So now I can create standalone documents and I can shop around and take those documents that are needed to support my particular application.
So Hans, these specifications, they specify what granularity to use to a certain extent, but for the remainder part, you're free to choose, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. So there you see that certain documents have to be provided at a certain level, but then it is colored in yellow, I believe, and that means that you can have one or multiple documents in there. Yeah, thanks. But now lean authoring. What is lean authoring? Well, that is an effective and clear and efficient or concise writing to inform recipients unambiguously about the message, so that the message that you are sending is also received as such and interpreted as such. And we also have to provide the information only once and at the correct location. Then we allow for, this allows then also for fast and cost-effective decision-making, because we can quickly find the information, we see it in the right context, and we can take decisions, informed decisions. But when you do this, always consider that standalone documents might change over time, because we would like to promote also the continuous improvement of your production processes, continuous improvement of your quality of the medicinal products. So it might change over time. And also be aware that some of the documents might be used in different contexts. So it might be used for a different product. If I have information on my packaging materials, for example, in P7, I can reuse that very often for multiple products. So it can be for multiple products, country, it could also be an application type. So I could have, for example, information that is for a clinical trial application in the beginning, but if I have a document like nomenclature, like structure, for example, then these documents, you create them once, they stay as is, and you can reuse them over the various application types and over the various product life cycle. And also be aware that it is neither a novella nor a scientific article. So when you did your academic degree, then you had to create a thesis. You have to express how much you know about a particular topic, and you took in all kind of information to create more body for your thesis, and also to show how much you know about that particular topic. But in a regulatory dossier, that's something different. Then all that knowledge has a home in your CTD structure already. So it is not needed to repeat all of that information in one piece of information there, one piece of text.
Yeah, and that is what often we see for our customers. We see a lot of repetition of the same information then scattered across the different documents, which from one perspective is fine with the initial submission, but then over time when something changes, sometimes it's hard to find out which documents you have to update because you don't know where it's mentioned.
Yeah, indeed. And here, just two examples, and I can give many, many more, but here, two examples, and you might say, oh, but this reads well. Yes, I recognize this. We do it something similar. So there we say drug product is provided as a sterile, colorless to slightly yellow solutions for subcutaneous injection and contains no preservatives. Reads well, good. But actually what we have in here is a word like sterile. Sterile cannot be seen. If I have a particular package, I have here my piece of information. Can I see that the product is sterile? No, I can see that it is colorless to slightly yellow. Can I see that it is to be used for subcutaneous injection? No, subcutaneous injection is context of use. And that has to be located in the product information. That is where you explain that it is for subcutaneous use. In some other countries, the same product might be used maybe for intramuscular injection and contains no preservatives. Are we really list all the type of things that it does not contain? No, I do know where this is coming from because this was part of a variation dossier where the preservatives were removed. So they said, okay, previously we had preservatives, now we do not have these preservatives anymore. So let's make that clear. No, that is something that you can do within, let's say, the application form, within your quality overall summary, where you justify the removal of your preservative. But in your module 3, then these are standalone documents that you should be able to reuse also for the initial MAA in another country, for example. Then another example here is the container closure system consists of a glass vial, a stopper and a cap. And then refer to section P7 for a detailed description of the container closure system. Well, first of all, why do we mention the material of the vial, but we do not mention the material of the stopper and not mention the material of the cap? So it should be either or. And also this reference is so obvious that you would expect that the assessor does not know that that type of information, detailed information about the container closure is in P7, and therefore you help him to guide through the regulatory dossier. I would consider this offensive. So what can we do? If we take now the data that we have in our databases, and that might be content related, it might also be context related, then we can create standard texts. And these standard texts can be captured in a certain sentence where we have between the angle brackets, we have all the detailed data in there. And we have some other sentence here. Then this can be auto-populated based on the data in the database. The contextual data says that it is for Mexico, where the product is packed in blisters. So then I get the data associated to the blisters. I can also say, no, I have something here for China, where the product is packed in bottles. And then I get the data that is in the bottles. So auto-populated, I get this type of information in there. But then you see that because we use text, that we talk about a blue oval tablet, but we talk about an orange tablet. We have another sentence here, and then the film-coated tablet is packed in an alu PVC blister, while here the film-coated tablets are packed in a bottle. Well, that is all linguistic complications that makes it difficult to process narrative texts. And why would we have to have narrative texts? Can't we do that in a tabular approach? So here you see we have the same information that is here within a sentence, and we have that nicely ordered here in a tabular approach. And with this tabular format, then you see that we just name everything as it is. There is no misinterpretation. While from a narrative, there can also be some misinterpretations. So here we overcome the linguistic issues. If we have now this piece of text here, can we create easily a translation of that? Well, we can create a translation, but what you see then is that the grammar is also different. But if we go for a tabular format, then hey, easy peasy. This is really helpful because now, again, no difference in interpretation. We get the right translations under the right categories or attributes in a tabular approach. So also that makes it very easy. That means that in principle, these tabular formats can be auto-populated from a database. And that means that we are able to generate document submissions from tabular data, and we can do that automatically. This kind of knowledge, this kind of information is used to develop our DOScriber templates, and this is also something that, independent from us, was also developed as such by Transcelerate. So what do we have in our templates? That is embedded fonts and paragraph styles, pre-formatted tabular formats and structured information. We have multiple options for that document granularity. There are pre-filled headers and footers already available, and we have adopted also the regulatory ICH guidance and our Celegence best practice in the templates. So here you see the embedded fonts and paragraph styles. So where do we see that? Here on the right-hand side. These are the styles, the font types, the font sizes that are captured already here. So if I would like to use a title, then this here would be my title. And that is also what can be seen now here, based on, for example, the heading 1 and the heading 2, and this is default word features, but nevertheless, we see it too often that it is not being used as such. Then if we apply these proper styles for that, automatically it will create here the bookmarks. And when we render this document to PDF, then automatically also those bookmarks will be created. And based upon rendering, we get already an easily ready document. The only thing that needs to be done is then create some external links to those to other destination documents, for example. That is the only thing, but all the links within the document are already within that document. Then we have the pre-formatted tabular formats. And here we see an example for the specifications of our drug substance, but this could also be for the specifications of our drug product, specifications for our intermediates, specifications for our control materials. So all will apply the same principle. Always we have multiple columns. The first column will be for a test parameter by a particular analytical procedure. Then it has to comply with certain acceptance criteria. It must be compliant also to either an in-house standard or in accordance with a compendial standard. Then if it is for the S41, P51, we can also have then additional columns here for the release, whether it's for release specifications or whether it's for shelf life specifications. So with this, we focus very much on the factual data. And then all these columns and all these rows are based on ICH guidance, but also, as you can see here, we guide the authors very much on what has to be done. Good, then we have the multiple options for the document granularity. If we have the multiple documents for granularity, on this here we have a very coarse granularity. So I have one document P33 for the description and manufacturing process. And as you can see here, I have 6 different chapters, general information, scale and batch numbering, the reprocessing and so on, all as separate. So this is one huge document. But if I split now this document to 6 different documents each for a particular chapter, then what you will see is what was a bookmark here in the coarse document granularity becomes a subtitle in the fine document granularity. What was heading 2 as paragraphs within this chapter becomes a heading 1 in this overview here. So that is how we deal with multiple options for document granularity, but also you see the impact that it has for the header information. Then how have we captured the ICH guidance and also our Celegence best practice, for example? Well, that is because we have here and this is just an example, we have a particular process. And within that process, we have our starting materials, we have our reagents, but that corresponds then also to our critical material attributes. We might have our process steps here, and these process steps will result or have to be conducted and processed as according to certain critical process parameters or critical operating conditions. And that is where you see the CPPs coming in. And then we have here, each process step leads to an intermediate. So we have the intermediates defined. We have also our particle size, which is a critical quality attribute that has to be measured on that particular intermediate. So you see the coherence between now also your quality by design and all the pharmaceutical development that you have done just in this document. I can also use the same for structuring the information, because here I talk about S23 for the control of materials and P32 for the batch formula. And then you see the ingredients that we use. But we have also S22, P33 that talk about the various production processes. And we have then also the intermediates that are listed here have to be discussed in S24 and P34. We have also in S22 and P33, we have our operating conditions that are listed, and we have in our control of drug substance, control of materials, for particle size distribution, we have also that type of information in there. Then we have our pre-formatted tabular formats. But we can also do that with a piece of text. But if we do that, then you get this type of information that would be in the template, and that might result in a text that reads like this. This is also doable, but I would rather prefer a tabular format, but we have seen that some of the companies, they still would prefer this kind of text. We can do that. Here we have combined the pre-formatted table with pre-filled document headers and footers, and also some further regulatory guidance and Celegence best practice. So now we have created here a cumulative list for all clinical trials that can be used in the eCTD, but since we do not have a number here, it can also be used for the ASEAN CTDs. Since we do not have a number, it can be occurring at 276, but it can also occur at 5.2. So we will create 2 hrefs within our eCTD. It will only be 1 document. And then we can use the same table in our investigators brochure, in our IND or clinical trial application. So also in an IMPD, we can use the table. And this is to be replaced, for example, with every update. Since we have also included here information like the study status or the type of report and also the countries of conduct, these additional columns in comparison to what the ICH says. Now you can also cross-refer to this table to say what is the particular status, or what is the GCP status of those sites that are outside of the EU, for example. That is something that you have to provide in M110. These are just examples on how we use that. Now, Transcelerate also did something similar, and they have created the templates for the non-clinical and clinical study report, for the protocol, and also for the statistical analysis plan. And also here, this is what we have adopted within Celegence, that these are also used as part of our templates. Then we have independently from each other, we have developed that, but we came to the same features that we would like to have tabular formats where possible, rather reuse than recreate. So cross-refer to the protocol rather than to include all the information from the protocol. We offer also the ICH and best practice guidance.
Maybe just to add, so the reason so first of all, Transcelerate is a non-for-profit organization. They collaborate pharmaceutical companies in a non-competitive space, and they said, why don't we create a template for the CSR, for the protocol and the statistical analysis plan, because it's also easier for investigators to always have the same look and feel of these documents. So that's why we make reference to these templates, because we don't want to create another template on top of a standard that we're trying to achieve, because we are very much in favor of harmonization.
And also reuse rather than recreate.
Exactly. Yeah. But of course, module 4 and 5 is more than just these 3.
Of course, and there we have our, we have far more templates.
Yeah.
So that brings me to the concluding remarks. And that is that hopefully you have seen that Celegence is a tech-empowered service provider, because we apply the lean and automated principles throughout our authoring and publishing activities. We also have separated content from context, and that is very important, that we focus on the content in modules 2 to 5 and that the contextual information goes into module 1. We create standalone documents that can be reused without any rework across the various submission types. But also I can use my same document, because I have not included 3.2 or 2.3 in my P1 composition, for example. So I can reuse that document for module 3 as well as module 2. That is already what we can do now. But as you have seen with ICH and PQCMC, what they would like to establish is the factual information goes into module 3. And like the clinical overview, non-clinical overview, we get some critical evaluation that will go in module 2. And that will be the scientific evaluation. So that will be pharmaceutical development, process development and validation, method development and validation. Those are the kind of things that will go in module 3. If you apply this, then you will see that it reduces time to author and publish the initial package, but also reduces time to maintain the dossier for future updates. And you will see also that all the reduction of the redundancy that is in there causes that there are no inconsistencies anymore, because we provide information only once and at the right location. And that has led already to faster approvals without any major objections based on our module 3. And this also allows, if you have those tabular formats and you have to populate the information in XEVMPD and IDMP, that you can easily extract the information because you know where the information is. There's no interpretation from a piece of text. It is in the tabular format and you can do that. So with that, I would like to leave you, and I would like to thank you for Q&A and leave you here also with the lean authoring checklist that has been published, and that ties in also to all the topics that we have discussed today. So I would like to open up for questions.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Hans, and thanks, Marloes. So yeah, if anyone does want to get hold of that checklist, it is on the website and on the link that we'll send out with this recording. But yeah, about to go into questions and answers. So if anyone does have any, please pop some in the Q&A part. I see one is here already. So how much time can be saved with lean authoring? That's a question.
A very interesting question. Thank you. So yeah, I think that a lot of time can be gained with that. I can give you an example for something that we did a couple of years ago for a Dutch small company where they submitted the first ECTD to the FDA. And there we were able to create a complete module 3 in 10,000 pages. So what do I say? No, in 1,000 pages. It was, let's say, around 3 binders, the size of 3 binders. That was a complete module 3. Then the company said, but that's impossible. We normally have something like 10 different binders. And then we said, okay, you go ahead, you take the 3 binders and you come back and you tell me what type of information is missing. 2 weeks later, they came back and they said, everything is there. Yes, everything is there, but we provide the information only once and we do it in a very brief and lean way. So there you see that to produce 10 binders takes more time than producing 3 binders of information, just to give some size, but also the review and approval goes also much faster, the internal review and to make it fit for release. Then also the future updates. That went also much faster because you know exactly where the information needs to be updated. You gave that information and then in your QoS addendum, you explained and you justified the changes that you make in that module 3, and you had just a few documents to be reviewed and created. So it saves you a lot of time. Then the reuse across multiple regions is also another gain that you have, because those documents that you have created can be reused across regions, but also we had documents that were created for the clinical trial application that remained as is, and we could reuse that also later on for our NDA, for example.
Yeah, and don't underestimate the time saving on the publishing end, because I'm sitting here in the office next to our publishing team, and sometimes in peak times I'm also helping out, and it makes such a big difference how documents are written, how fast or how slow publishing goes.
Yeah. So because we do not have those hyperlink cross-references, we have far less cross-references. We have no hyperlinks in module 3 anymore because the cross-references are obvious, and therefore a hyperlink is considered redundant. And this is already accepted by the FDA, by EMA, by many other health authorities, that there are no hyperlinks. But they like it because they say, yeah, but I can easily find my information. I read the written cross-reference. It matches with the title that I have in my ECTD table of contents, and I know where to find the information. So that saves you a lot of time on the critical path as well. Thanks, Marloes.
No, it leads nicely into another question that's come through, which is around our assessors already, reviewing and receiving submissions in this format, and perhaps some of the feedback we had from those assessors. So you've sort of started to answer that already.
Yeah, so I can tell you that we started with these kind of templates for a big multinational company in 2014, I think, so 10 years ago. And at that time we had that finer document granularity. It was new, and there we had some feedback from the assessors. Yeah, but now I have, and in this case it was a 10-valent vaccine, so a huge 3 to P for because you have 10 huge 3 to S, 10 different valence antigens. And that was a huge amount of documents. True. But then later on, it became apparent to the assessors also that it was actually easier. And they should not review through the file and folder structure. They should review using the ECTD viewing tool. And then it was all very obvious and clear. We have worked on a project together with Roche, and I can tell that because we have also presented on that in the past for structured authoring, that it would be auto-populated. And based on the presentations that we gave, we were asked by the FDA to give a presentation to the PQ-CMC team, because they consider this as a kind of stepping stone towards the actual database exchange. So they liked it. We know also from the Dutch authorities that they liked it very much. And like you have seen also in the testimonial from Dr. Balazs, there you see also that they were very fast and that there was so obvious and transparent that dossier that they had a very quick review and there were no major objections.
Thanks, Hans. And a couple of minutes on the clock, so perhaps at the last minute, there's a sort of a merge of questions around how much investment is needed to implement this, and how does a company get started with lean authoring?
Well, with lean authoring, then what we have rolled out to various of our customers is that, of course, they have to have the proper templates, and then we will give a one-day training, and that one-day training is on, first of all, something simple, as you might think, on Word settings. The settings in Word, the use of the Word features for captions and cross-references and those kind of things. Then the lean authoring principle, and that is where I gave you some examples of something that we were used to write. And it still looks good, but it is not lean authoring. And then we have also the proper use of the templates, where we explain more when do you split the documents in multiple chapters and when do you leave them as a very coarse granularity, for example. How do you deal with then the subtitles? What kind of subtitles do you give? And that is all done within, let's say, one day. A one-day training for the team, for the let's say, train the trainer sessions. That is what we can do. And then, of course, the templates can just be loaded into their document management systems that they have, and they can take it from there.
And in the end, it's a habit. People have to make it a habit to do it, and not only for the purpose of CTD authoring. Yeah. Like we also try to make it a habit when we draft our internal SOPs, for example. Yeah, try to be lean all the time.
Within our organization, we have hired quite a lot of young people that were just graduated, that had written their thesis. They get our training and they say, oh, I wish I would have had that training already before, because that would have saved me so much time.
Less is more.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, great. Well, we're at time. So thanks, Marlies, thanks, Hans, and thanks for everyone for joining. As we said, if anyone's got any questions afterwards, then please feel free to reach out to us. Email address is listed there, and we'll send the recording out. But yeah, we'd be very pleased to hear from any of you if you've got any other questions, any other feedback, and look forward to speaking with you. So yeah, with that, I think we can close. And yeah, big thanks again, Marlies and Hans.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for your interest.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.